Focus. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Rifleman. This video is going to be brief. If I cannot force myself to speak briefly, I am going to edit this video brutally. So if there's an unusual number of jump cuts, I apologize for that in advance. I tried to make this video on Friday of last week, and it turned into an absolute nightmare. I don't have my cheat sheet with me. I don't have my paper with all the numbers and little decimal points and stuff on it, because reading numbers and decimal points makes me run on and on with information that nobody wants or needs. So we're going to do this very straightforward. I have in my hands two bolt carrier groups for large frame AR type DPMS pattern rifles. You can call it an LR308. You can call it an AR308. Don't call it an AR10. These are not AR10 bolts. These are LR308 bolts. And it absolutely doesn't matter why I have two. I would not have bought two if not for unforeseen circumstances, but that's neither here nor there. What we do have to look at is the fact that if you are thinking about building an LR308 and you're putting parts together and you're trying to do it on a real budget, I can almost assure you that both of these bolt carrier groups are on your radar. This one is from Trybe Defense. Trybe Defense is a subgroup of Rise Armament, which is a house brand for Optics Planet. And this bolt carrier group is from NBS. NBS is an acronym for exactly what it sounds like, and that's the house brand for AR-15 discounts. And these are two of the most affordable, what I would imagine are decent quality bolt carrier groups on the market as I make this video. Maybe by the time you watch this, there'll be something else out there. But these two bolt carrier groups, obviously one of them is nickel boron plated, and the other one is black nitrided. One of them has the Trybe Defense logo on it. The other one has no logo whatsoever and is very shiny, very flashy. That's one thing I wasn't really expecting. I'm used to, when I buy nickel boron plated stuff, that it looks like the bolt head here with sort of a matte finish, but in fact the whole damn thing is really high polished. Should make it easy to clean. But other than the finish, these two bolt carrier groups are more similar than they are different. I don't know who made either of these. I suspect that the Trybe Defense was made by Toolcraft, and I suspect that the NBS was made by KAK, and I'll explain that in a minute. And you can read the specifics for both of these bolt carrier groups on the internet. You probably have if you're watching this video, because you're actively considering these two. The basic rundown is both of these bolts are made of the same steel alloy. Both of the bolt carriers are made of the same steel alloy. Both claim to have staked hardware on the gas key, and they do, although the staking on the Trybe Defense, I would say, is adequate, but it's not nearly as aggressive as the staking on the NBS. This is more impressive looking to me. I'm 100% sure that these screws are not going to come loose. I don't think these would either, but there is a difference there. Both of these claim to have shot-peened bolts. Both of these claim to have magnetic particle inspected bolts. One of these, and I'm not sure which one it is, you'll have to look it up online, also claims to have been high pressure tested in addition to having been magnetic particle inspected. Neither of these bolts is marked, however, as having been high pressure tested or magnetic particle inspected. So we'll have to take them at their word. Now, for what you can't discover online, I've evaluated both of these bolt carrier groups a little bit when I received them. First of all, I dug around in my Armor's toolkit, and I found my 308 headspace gauges. Now, I don't have a go gauge. I only have a no-go gauge and a field gauge. But That's pretty much all you need. You really only need a go gauge when you're chambering a rifle, or if you're having reliability issues and you're wondering if maybe your barrel is short chambered. But for safety purposes, you basically need a no-go gauge and a field gauge. And really, you could probably get away with just a field gauge. So let me say right off the bat, I tested both of these bolts, and both of them have acceptable head space with my barrel. Now, that doesn't really mean much of anything to you, because head space is an interactive function of the bolt and the barrel. So if they head space okay with my barrel, they might not head space okay with your barrel, and vice versa. But both of them are safe to shoot. Let's put it that way. There's no reason for me to get into any more detail than that. I will tell you that the headspace on the NBS bolt is a little bit longer than the headspace on the Trybe Defense bolt. The headspace test seemed to be a little bit different, so I went through the more painstaking process of measuring the length of the bolt lugs and the depth of the bolt face on both of these bolts. I did that by measuring each of the 7 lugs around the perimeter of each of these bolts, averaging the lengths, then measuring the depth of the bolt face at several different points around the inside of the perimeter of the bolt head here, and averaging those numbers. Then I did 2 sets of measurements, and then I did 2 sets of calculations to determine what my critical distance was. That's the length, the average length of the locking lugs, minus the average depth of the bolt face. And those are really the dimensions on the bolt that will determine your head space. And I can tell you that between this bolt and this bolt, there's a difference in critical distance of about 2 thousandths. Actually, a little bit more than that, depending on which set of measurements and which set of calculations I did. The difference is either 23 10,000ths or 24 10,000ths. Not enough to make any difference, but both of these head space correctly. Now, this is what you want to stay tuned for. There is a big difference between this bolt carrier group and this bolt carrier group, and it's going to make a difference to you. It won't make a difference to you if the rifle that you're building is going to be chambered in 308, but it will make a pretty big difference if your rifle is going to be chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor or another high-pressure cartridge. Because although it's not listed this way on the website, the NBS bolt carrier group, specifically the nickel boron plated one that I have here, has a high-pressure bolt head, meaning it has a smaller diameter firing pin hole and a smaller diameter firing pin tip. And the clearance between the firing pin tip and the inside diameter of the firing pin hole is tighter by at least 1,000th, maybe 2,000ths, compared to the firing pin tip and the firing pin hole that you'll find on the Trybe Defense bolt carrier group. That makes a big difference. And in examining these differences, that's how I came up with the probable manufacturer of this bolt carrier group as being KAK. KAK makes a high-pressure bolt, and they make a high-pressure firing pin with a very unique sort of tapered tip. I will throw up some close-up footage here of the 2 firing pin tips. The NBS firing pin tip is the one that's on the right, and the Trybe Defense is on the left. The Trybe Defense is very conventional. It looks like pretty much any other LR308 firing pin you're going to see out there, but you can clearly see on the NBS that tapered tip. And after having gone down the rabbit hole of trying to find replacement firing pins, KAK seems to be the only manufacturer that makes firing pins like this. But another very important thing to take note of is that although KAK sells those firing pins individually as spares, They are not available anywhere on the internet. KAK doesn't have them for sale, and every place that retails KAK's stuff has them shown as out of stock. And I have found that normally when that's the case with gun parts, there is going to be a real supply problem, not just now, but in the future. If there isn't a ready supply of these things, you're going to have a really hard time replacing it if you should ever need to. Now, having said that, I have no experience. I don't have much experience with AR-10s, and I certainly don't have any experience with high pressure, small diameter AR-10 firing pins. I can say that although I keep a stock of spare AR-15 firing pins around, I have never experienced a broken AR-15 firing pin, a semi-automatic AR-15 firing pin breaking. But I have seen several M16 firing pins break, and when a firing pin breaks, your rifle is sidelined. So I like to keep some spares around. Because I'm shooting a 308 and not a 6.5 Creedmoor, if I get a broken firing pin in this bolt carrier group, I would probably just buy a more standard bolt head that would take a more standard, notice I don't say standard because there really is no standard, but a more standard firing pin and just be done with it and avoid the difficulty of finding weird small diameter firing pins, which are being sold as part of a complete assembly, but they're impossible to get individually. I don't need to deal with that. So anyway, I bought these two bolt carrier groups. Again, I'm not going to get into that. I have both of them. I thought about sending one of them back, but I decided this is a unique opportunity, not just to show them to you here today, but to actually shoot them side by side. AR-10s are notoriously finicky when it comes to reliability. And that can be a function of the interaction of all different kinds of components, but certainly the bolt carrier group is one of those components. So I'm going to take the time to shoot both of these bolt carrier groups in my new rifle, and we'll see if there's any difference in accuracy or reliability. But one way or the other, I will keep one of these bolts, as a spare, and we'll definitely shoot both of them in the rifle when it's completed. That probably isn't going to happen for about a month yet. I don't think I'm going to do any more of these truck talks in the immediate future. I've got to get the complete lower from my nephew. I'm trading something to him for that, but he's down in Virginia, and I probably won't see him till next month. So as most of you already know, we moved on to daylight savings time Saturday night, or I guess technically Sunday morning. So now I'm going to have an extra hour of daylight at the end of the day. I'm going to be able to start making shooting videos again after work, and I think I might start that this afternoon. So stay tuned for some new shooting videos, and I hope to catch each of you when I post those. Later, guys.